Okay. A little while ago, I had a little video about what I expected in the Shadow of the Erd Tree, other than the obvious stuff that everybody's covered before. Mainly in terms of filling in the gaps and uh, really just convenient design layups that they didn't choose to do. Well, some rebalancing, some wet blades that I think they're going to add in or DLC. And I just wanted to touch up upon that just a little bit by talking about axes. Axes. I think that there should be more hatchet type axes. Now, there are some unique styles of axes. I have some interesting ones here on my strength and somewhat into character. But yeah, I mentioned in the previous video that I think that the dual axe moveset, the power stance moveset for one-handed axes, should be just reverted right back to Dark Souls 3. You know, you get your Wing Knight twin axes, and they just function very smoothly. It's like a slightly slower version of the power stance curved swords, which is very nice. And what we got here is this. Oh boy, the delay on that. That is terrible. It is so slow and so ridiculous, especially because here's the normal axe moveset. Here's one of the special ones in the warped axe. And they're both very, very much convenient. Now what's interesting is that both of these axes here, if you look at them compared to power stance greatswords as an option, check this out. This kind of looks familiar to how you would operate speed-wise, just paired together with the Dark Souls 3 power stance axes in the Wing Knight twin axes. This is very much similar to that. And then you've got a nice rolling L1, jumping L1. Almost it's the same in terms of moveset speed. Definitely not in terms of moveset animation, but very similar in moveset speed. Now, of course, your great swords have much more reach and much more damage than your regular one-handed axes, so this makes things very interesting in that regard, considering how stamina and endurance are basically tied together in the same stat as opposed to vitality and endurance in Dark Souls 3. Makes for a huge difference in stat allocations, and so we're pretty much free to have access once we have our relatively completed build wherever you like to wherever you like to end up. Usually PvE is going to be like around 150, but a lot of people will run 125 or 137 PvP builds. Regardless, you're going to usually have all of the stamina to use this, and all of the equip weight to use this as well. And that begs the question, what the hell do we do about the power stance axe moveset? And I really think that, let's compare it now to one of the best setups in the entire game, power stance curved swords. I mean, look at this nonsense. This is ridiculous. It's so fast. They come out at the same time. You got this multi-hit running L1s and jumping L1s. It's incredibly filthy. It pairs well with quite a bit of strategies. Of course, you know, right here, I'm not really going to use these. I used these on my int character because they were unironically stronger than Moonveil. I didn't use the Serpent Gods, but I did use the Scavs. I used one Scavs, one Bandits, both cold infused. Fucking ridiculous. The only thing more absurd is power stance twin blades. I mean, you get yourself two Godskin peelers, infuse blood, get seppuku on that. It's just a nightmare. I mean, you buff stack to maximum, and you are just by far the most consistent in shredding bosses. You know, there are some slower, heavier weapons like Giant Crusher where you can buff stack up to one-shotting a great deal of bosses, but it's just not as consistent to pull off before some of your buffs start to run out. Doing Power Stance Twin Blades and just getting up there with your really quick but also higher range weapons is absolutely disgusting. I mean, Godskin Peel is the best weapon in the game for that. Not only that, but you can slap Ash of War on it and just absolutely go to town. You know, it doesn't have to be as slow as World Knight's Resolve. You can do whatever you want, which makes it just even more filthy and even more versatile for normal gameplay. Just fighting PvE mobs or whatnot. Now, I really do think that if you want power stance axes to be, not very laughable, all you have to do is take them and make the moveset similar to the power stance greatswords, but not as fast as the power stance curve swords. That's it. Because the power stance axes, the axes just in general, you're going to have a lot more damage, especially this warped axe on this style of build is going to be obscene. But also, I think that there should be a slight difference when you have a different type of axes, and this is my favorite type of axe. I put the prosthesis whereas heirloom on just so I can have this. I'm not even going to mess around with it, but I mean, this thing specifically, let's put the turtle shell on. This thing just one-handed, two-handed, is just a menace. In no way is this thing going to be on the top of anybody's list. However, the speed, range, damage on a dex build, special properties, the way that it can chain R2s really easily and get good damage and stance damage stacked up with your Axe Talisman and your Spike to Crack Crystal tier, and then followed up with DPS should you need to. Not only is that incredible, but you have the freedom to pair this style of weapon, the Hatchet style of weapon, with an Ash of War. Now, the Ice Rand Hatchet has Hoarfrost Stomp, which is just okay. They nerfed that severely, and it deserved it, because at launch, Hoarfrost Stomp was fucking ridiculous. But this type of range, usually hatchets don't have it, so normally hatchets are going to be your forked hatchet and your hand axe. Those definitely do not have the type of range that this thing has. However, you take something like this, decent range, you give it this moveset. This one has a special property that's more effective against dragons. Of course, it has added up Frostbite as well, and you're starting to get quite nasty with it. And nasty to the point where you are, again, not at the top of anybody's list, not the top of echelon in terms of power in this game, but it is very satisfactory in that you're able to, with restrictions, play as if you were a god in Dark Souls 3. And I think that for a lot of returning Souls vets, quote-unquote Souls vets, this is going to be an extremely satisfying style of weapon to play. Because it really feels like what straight swords could have been at the peak of their power. Fast one-handed, fast two-handed, very effective, hopefully customizable Ash of War. Maybe we'll get in the Shadow of the Erd Tree, we'll get a version of the customizable Ash of War that's actually at a decent length and has good properties like the Ice Rind Hatchet does, like maybe Dragon Killing and Frostbite. It doesn't have to be exactly that. In fact, I don't want it to be that. I want it to be something different. But this is just something cool that like any dex build can run and fuck around with you if you're trying to put a lot of balance restrictions on yourself, like no big buff stacking to make yourself to the point of one-shotting bosses, no spirit summons for instant cheese, and then just no shredding setups like Power Stance Curve Swords and Power Stance Twin Blades. Of course, just no one-shot blasters like Comet Azure or Meteorite of Astel, and then you have yourself a relatively balanced playthrough that's going to be on the level of, say, somebody just at the peak of their powers in Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne, minus some of the bosses that just get melted by A Call Beyond and Bloodborne. My god, it is satisfying, but only satisfying for so long. Still though, the satisfaction level of using this weapon to a good extent, very similar, weirdly enough, this isn't going to sound like a legit opinion to most people, but I actually found this similar level of satisfaction to using this well with the satisfaction that I get in Bloodborne for using the Holy Moonlight Greatsword. And of course, the Holy Moonlight Greatsword is going to have more satisfaction. But I say satisfaction in the sense because it's providing around the same level of dominance provided I play well in both games. So I'm dominating the enemies, I'm chunking, I'm getting any sorts of DPS or what have you, and I'm still able to feel like I'm not just deleting enemies off the game when I'm facing them with any sort of limited skill from just encountering them for the first time, which is what we will do plenty in Shadow of the Erdtree. So, uh, in addition, just wanted to say that I'm open for suggestions on what you guys think power stance axes should look like. What's your like weird favorite weapon type? You know, I think that the convenience of hatchets like this over regular axes could make this one of my favorites in the game. And if we actually get a bunch of them in the DLC, they could actually take the throne for me over your one-handed, two-handed twin blades. I just love these things. I love the amount of Ashes of War you can put on them. I did forget also to mention that we're probably getting the twin blade of Abundance and Decay, as that is a not included file that's in the game. It's an asset, it's fully modeled, looks gorgeous, and you know, it fits the themes that are Mikola and Melania to a T. So should be really cool, and I hope it's really good as well. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about hatchets. I might just, you know, start up a silly little Dex character just so that I can really make the most use of this, because it is just oh so satisfying in a relatively balanced way. I can still dominate, but I'm not cheesing the game. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys some other time. Bye!